guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm back here at Moss Family Chevrolet in Tampa, Florida, and we are here with another new 2019 Chevrolet Camaro. This one is a base trim, the LS, but what's new for 2019 besides the restyle is underneath the hood of this one has that inline-4 turbocharged engine. And what I really want to focus on with this particular review is it a good idea for Chevrolet to have that extra engine option? So let's talk a little bit about Camaro history. The Camaro has been around since 1967. Even back then you had lots of different engine options. Most of them though were that V8 variety. You did have the option of a V6. For the first time in Camaro history, you could get that inline-4 turbocharged engine. Over the year, the Camaro has changed size, has changed shape, but you know what? Deep down inside, it is that wonderful lineup, part of that lineup to Chevrolet's whole plethora of cars that really is so iconic and is just part of American culture. With this particular one, you do get in at a very low price point and you do have that iconic styling, but is Chevrolet watering it down too much by offering an engine that puts out 275 horsepower? Because most people still consider it Camaro. When they think Camaro, they think muscle car. You think V8. The wonderful thing is you still got your V8 options. You got the LS3, you got the LT4. So you have those choices. This is just one other option. But let's go ahead, dive in to the front end of this Camaro. So right off the bat, you'll see the redesign for 2019. They got a little bit more slim and trim with the headlight design. And then one thing that they did is they kind of went a little bit more aerodynamic with the shape. One of my zonks since the beginning with the 2019 on the V6 or the inline-4 is this part right here. I wish they would have just brought the white. This one happens to be colored white. I wish they would have brought that material down and connected it and still had the side curtain, because I kind of think that it gives it a weird little grin look to it. But I do like the way that those side air curtains are functional. Grill really is hitting the nail on the head. I like the design of it. I like the way it's flat black. Same material, both top and bottom, same shape. One thing I've noticed is that a lot of the new Camaros, they sit up because of the style of the front fascia, they sit a little further off the ground. So I think that would probably be a good thing, because when you're pulling into a parking spot, there's more room so that you're not hitting that parking block. But I like the placement of the bow tie. I also like the way that it's black, just like with everything else. But from driver's side to passenger side, you do see those distinctive lines of a Camaro. It's just, for some people, they felt that Chevrolet went a little too much with the style. There are some changes for 2020, so stay tuned to Rady's Rides. Up onto the hood, you'll see the muscular lines. Even though there's not a lot of muscle underneath the hood, definitely that cowl raised section looks very aggressive. As we come around the bend with the LS trim, these are the wheels that you're gonna get. And you know what? That's what you get when you come in at this trim level. Are they an attractive wheel? Not really, kind of plain Jane. I'm glad they didn't just go with a 5-star style design. So I'll give them that. The silver, it's bright, it's just not really working. I wish the wheels were just a tinge darker, not black, but a little bit more of a grayish color. If you're wondering, well, what is this size wheel? You're basically looking at this 18-inch wheel, and it's 245 on the width, and you have a very nice meaty sidewall, which what that means is it's going to give you a little bit better ride than one that has a lower profile. As we go down those distinctive lines, I like the way they're placing the Camaro badge here with the red, white, and blue. That's what this car is about. It's part of a tradition. It's an American icon. It's almost like an institution. As we go down now, this whole section is all same Camaro. So if you got a 2018, 2017, whatnot, gonna be the same. I do really like on the Camaro how they kind of flare out the bottom portion near the sill area. Really gives it a distinctive line. The biggest complaint for most people is when you're driving it, the side windows here are very, very low, and that back window is like looking out of a little tiny peephole on an old door. As we come into that rear quarter window, very nice flared out fenders in the back, and then wrapping it out back, just very clean. No trunk lid spoiler, none of that. I actually like the taillights on the 2019, because remember, this is redesigned as well. Both front and back is redesigned. I like them better in red than in clear. Only thing I don't like is this horizontal line. I think that it would look a lot cleaner without that horizontal line in there, but I am glad that they're red. Very simple diffuser. That's a zonk for me with Chevrolet. I wish they would do a little bit more with this area, but I'm glad that it does have dual exhaust and that matching black bow tie for the front. But let's go ahead, check out that other new thing, what's lurking underneath that hood, the inline turbocharged 4-cylinder. Let's go check it out. All right, guys, hood is popped on this 2019 Camaro. I guess the wonderful thing is that there's no way to tell really to the untrained eye, especially if you're not a car person, seeing this car, not knowing what's underneath the hood. But what's underneath this hood is a lot of space. The reason why is because of the engine we're working with. There it is, first time ever in a Camaro, inline 4 turbocharged engine. It's a 2-liter. When we're talking about numbers, you're looking at 275 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. The wonderful news though is you could have that mated to a 6-speed or the 8-speed automatic. When it comes to MPGs, I've been talking about, you know, with this engine, it's going to sip fuel a little bit more. You're looking at 22 in the city, 31 in the highway. If you want to know, well, what does a V8 do? V8 in the city, about 15, 16 miles to the gallon, depending on your right foot, of course. When we look at the engine, one thing I do like is I like the way it's free of all the plastic. You could clearly see the top portion, the cam cover here, because remember, your cams are sitting up top and the cylinders are going 1, 2, 3, 4, rear wheel drive. If this was a front wheel drive car, then we'd have to turn the engine sideways to get it into the engine compartment to drive those front wheels. But we're driving the rear wheels. You could clearly see underneath that heat shield there, that's where that little snail is living, that turbocharged engine that's going to help produce the power. If you're wondering, well, what about weight? Joe, you've cut out 4 cylinders compared to my V8 Camaro. How much does this thing weigh? You're looking at about 3,400 pounds, so quite a bit difference. And I would be very curious to go do a track day with this thing and just see how it handles compared, obviously, to the heavier V8. But we are going to be taking this for a spin, so stay tuned for that. But of course, it's about that time. Let's go ahead and fire up this turbocharged 4-cylinder Camaro. I never thought I would say that ever, but new for 2019. Let's see what it sounds like. All right, guys, we're inside the 2019 Chevrolet Camaro. This one is an LS1. So when it comes to the different trim levels, the way Chevrolet does it is by designating a number, LS1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So this one is your entry level as you're coming into the Camaro. Now, I know you're probably saying, well, Joe, I'm curious about this car. How much does it cost? MSRP on the way that this one sits is around $27,000. Let's see what you get. To the door panels. Now, one thing I'm very happy about with the door panels, it's not just a sea of black. They brought in some silver. I wish the silver was just a little bit different tinge though. It's kind of flat and it looks a little too plasticky, if that's even a word. I do like the brushed aluminum looking door handle, and I like the leather on the armrest with the white contrast stitching, very nice. And then up top, at the top portion of the door panel, is some softer material. Now, as we transfer from the door panel to the dash, this is all hard plastic, very, very hard. You do have this simulated leather with the stitching. I do like that. I like the brushed aluminum trim rings around the AC vents. When it comes to infotainment, this is what you get. It's a 7-inch diameter. You do get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and it does have Wi-Fi built in, which is very nice. And of course, General Motors, that OnStar services. Very easy to use. It's a little hard because there's a sticky film on this, but you can see that if you slowly swipe, it'll allow you to go back and forth. But I promise you, you peel this off, just to show you I'm not lying. There's that sticky film, but I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm going to stick it back. Good as new. There we go. Nobody touched it. As we come down, what I do love about the Camaro is the slim and trim AC controls. I love the way they integrate the blower fan speed right into the trim ring. That is smart. I really like that. You have obviously your for your defroster and everything right here, located very nicely. This other one's gonna do the temperature. And I like the way when you twist it, it also shows up on the screen. And this is for all the Camaros. Nice touch. This is what's going to be controlling that 8-speed automatic, like the leather boot. There's more of that contrast stitching, nice little flat silver here. You got a couple different modes, which I'll show you in a second, that you could go through. You got your electronic parking brake. 12 volt is here. My only problem with having it here is if you're running a radar detector or something like that, the cord's gonna be stretching all the way over here. But of course you wouldn't be running a radar detector because you're probably not speeding, right? I know I don't. Anyways, 2 cup holders. Armrest is a little hard and it's not very large. I mean, you could probably put a pack of gum in there, maybe some Tic Tacs for when you're done going out to dinner or something like that and you ordered the fish that night. You could have the Tic Tacs in there. Seats. Cloth material. I do like the pattern that's going on here. It kind of breaks up the sea of darkness in here with the seats. It's a very durable fabric. Like, I feel like this could take a lot of wear, and the great news is it's very comfortable. I'm 6 feet tall. Once you get into this cave of a Camaro, I got plenty of headroom. You could get a helmet on, do a track day. My only gripe is, and I know I've said this before, well, I should say my zonk, right? I can't say gripe. This is the channel where we zonk things. But it just feels cramped in here. Like, I go sit in a Camaro, I feel like, a Corvette, I feel like I have more room. So, and I know many of you who own these Camaros say it's not so bad, but it is. It feels very tight in here. But it's something that you do because you love the car, right? We put up with certain things because we love the cars that we love. But why don't you come on over to the business end and see if you're loving anything that's going on over here. All right, guys, business end, behind the wheel of the Camaro. I do like the size and the shape of the wheel on the Camaro. One thing I don't like is this plastic piece here. I wish they would at least put like a Camaro logo or something here. I don't know. It looks very, very cheap. Buttons are very, very slim and close to the center of the steering wheel. You do have paddles if you want to go through your 8-speed automatic manually. And then I think that the gauge cluster is very, very nicely done. It's got a nice analog tach, speedo on the right-hand side. You got your fuel, you got your coolant temp, and then you have that digital display in the center, which you could go through a plethora of different functions and check on all sorts of stuff, including your air filter life. I think it was smart the way they put a little bit of brushed aluminum just to brighten this up. It really makes a big difference, but it is harder plastic, and it's crazy because it's up quite a bit. The nice thing is, though, you could see the top of the hood very nicely as you're going down the road, especially when it comes to parking situations and whatnot. But why don't we go ahead and check out the trunk and see how usable is this Camaro for everyday driving. All right, guys, time to check out the trunk of this Camaro. One thing I want to point out, though, before I open this up, is that when it comes to looks of a car, obviously beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You could love the lines of this Camaro. You look at a Mustang, you love the lines of a Mustang. One place where the Camaro gets beat every time by the Mustang is what's underneath this lid. So we open up the trunk, that is the room. The thing that kills the Camaro is the opening here. Very, very small. Now, if you're able to squeeze and shove something in there, you do have a decent amount of space, but still loses out to the Camaro. So if you were going for a daily driver and you wanted something that had the iconic styling, but you know, got you better MPGs than a V8, it might be better to go the EcoBoost route with the Mustang because you could have the best of both worlds and have even more horsepower than this one and more trunk space. But why don't we go ahead, take this for a spin and see how it drives. All right, guys, we left Moss Family Chevrolet. We're in the 2019 Camaro with that inline-4 turbocharged engine. It's one of those things, I know that the more you drive these Camaros, the more you get comfortable to the visibility and how the windows are set up. So I'm feeling a little bit better, but when you first get into these, it is quite surprising. Let's go ahead and see how this inline-4 turbocharged engine does its business. I'm stepping on throttle. Through this right-left transition. You could definitely feel less weight off the front of the car. The only thing that I'm not liking, the car just being in regular drive, it's taking a while for it to drop down. When I get on the loud pedal, it's like I'm waiting, but I'm not waiting just for the boost and the turbo. I'm waiting for the actual gearbox to drop down. It's definitely not as slick shifting as that 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, one thing I think I kind of maybe sped over is that you do have this button down on the center console where you could go into different drive modes. So Three different modes are Tour, if you want to go on a nice countrywide tour with your Camaro. You got Sport, and then of course you have Snow and Ice. And what that's going to do is it's going to adjust the throttle sensitivity and whatnot to give you better traction depending on those conditions. What I do love though is I love the thickness of the wheel. Gauges are very easy to read and understand even at a quick glance, and the seats are ultra comfortable. So if this is going to be your daily driver, you're going to get those better MPGs, but you also are in a very comfortable environment. Let me go ahead and make a U-turn here just to see how that goes. It's a little bit wider car than some others that we just recently tested, but I'd make a U-turn. Very easy to make the U-turn. Let me go ahead and get back on throttle. So 0 to 60, Chevrolet claims around 5.1 seconds. Not as fast as an EcoBoost Mustang, but it does have quite a bit of pep. I think what I'm really liking is how light, obviously, the front end of the car feels compared to something like a V8 Camaro. But, you know, at the end of the day, could I be driving a V6 and feel just as fine? I firmly believe so. And I think that most people, if you're not going SS or higher, you're probably gonna go V6. I would be very curious at the end of the year to see how many actual turbocharged inline-4 engine Camaros they've sold by Chevrolet. That would be something that I definitely would like to find out, because I'm not 100% sure that this is gonna be as hot of a seller. Let me go ahead and put it into where I'm gonna shift myself. So downshift using the paddles. The paddles are very plastic feeling, but you know, at this price point, on the brakes feel great. And even though we're not on 20-inch wheels with a very low profile tire, the car handles really great. And I like the feedback that I am getting from the front of the wheel and the front end of the car with the wheels, but this wheel has a great weight to it. I do really like that. It makes you feel like your hands are actually attached to that electric rack and pinion up there, turning the front end of the business. But just very, very smooth running. AC controls, like I pointed out, very simple. I'm gonna go ahead and make another U-turn. Kind of get back to this section over here. Drop down on the paddles. Yeah, this car shifts obviously a lot better with the paddles for right-left transition. On throttle. Brakes, I am so impressed by the brakes. Very smooth. I'll definitely give it that. You know, the way that it builds the boost, it's very smooth, and you feel like you could pretty much toss this around any which way. And I actually like that. One thing that I always like to point out to some people is like, yeah, it'd be great to be in a ZL1. We've done it here on Rady's Rides a few times already. But if you had this on a little road course where you knew you weren't going to get pulled over by anybody and given a ticket, this thing would be a blast just to throw around, or an autocross track. It really shows a slower car with less horsepower shows the driver's ability more than a fast, high horsepower car, especially when it comes to everyday driving and whatnot. But hopefully this gave you a good little bit of everything. I really wanted to focus on the handling. That was my main part of this whole drive, and of course how the acceleration was overall. So hopefully you got a little bit of everything, but we're going to wrap this one up and get back to Moss Family Chevrolet. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been another wonderful, magical day here at Moss Family Chevrolet. Definitely want to give a huge shout out to Ricky and everybody here at the dealership. So accommodating. The big question still remains, is this a viable option to have in Chevrolet's lineup, or are you better just going down to your local Ford dealership and getting an EcoBoost Mustang? The decision is all up to you. The only thing I could recommend is go ahead and take one for a spin. But if these are the types of things you like to see on Rady's Rides, leave a comment in that comment section. If you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Rady's Rides family. If you want to help us keep making great content here on Rady's Rides for you, click the link in the description, get yourself some Rady's Rides merch. It goes a long way helping us out. Speaking of going a long way, O'Neal stepping in for Big Guns McGee. O'Neal actually just drove from Georgia just to be here. You know, he wanted to pick up some protein along the way because he's trying to get big like Big Guns McGee. We'll see how that works out, but he's doing a great job with the camera work. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.